Today I'm super excited to share with you this little project that you can see on the screen. It's a very simple web app, a bookmarking app. So you may have used bookmarking apps in your life, like Notion, for instance, or Pocket, to bookmark the URLs that you are visiting on the web, the websites that you are visiting on the web. This is a very simple example, but I had never created any Chrome extension in my life. This is the very first time that I've done it. I started yesterday and finished this morning. It took me roughly 3 hours to create this web app, the Chrome extension, plus also all the backend logic and the front end that you can see here. It was all created in a conversation with ChatGPT, like all the apps that I will share in this video series about AI-assisted coding. Let me walk you through the app first to show you what it can do, and then I will show you how it was created behind the scenes, and I will share some of the conversations that I had with ChatGPT to come up with this app that you can see now on the screen. How is it working? You can visit a website, for instance, OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, and click on this little icon that I added to my Chrome browser. So it's my bookmarker, that's the name of the app. You click on it, then you click on this button, and it will bookmark the page in the table. So if I come back to my table, to my bookmarker, and I reload this, as you can see, I have OpenAI added to my bookmarks. And I can add a tag, for instance, the AI tag. So the way I add a tag, it's usually the way it's done on the web, is I just type my text and I add a comma, and then it registers the tag. As you can see, we already had the AI tag, so it didn't create a duplicate of the tag. It just created a new relationship between the AI tag and the OpenAI bookmark. So we have two lines, if you want, in the tables. One line which is connecting the AI tag with this bookmark, and one line which is connecting the AI tag with the other bookmark. We will see how this is done behind the scenes in the SQLite database in a moment. I can also search by tag. So we have a very neat search function. So if I search AI, as you can see, we only have the two lines featuring the AI tag. And if I inspect this in Chrome, so I go to inspect here, and if I just minimize this to make it smaller, we will go to the mobile view. Okay, let's maybe remove this guy and put it there. As you can see, in the mobile view, you don't have the date that you had, the bookmarking date that you had in the desktop view. So it's a card view, which is more adapted for mobile. Same concept. So if I remove this filter, I have all my tags. And if I add a new tag to my jingle maker here, I can add jingle, comma, and as you can see, it added the jingle tag, and I can obviously search by jingle, and I will have here my bookmark for the AI jingle maker. And obviously, if I click on the bookmark, it goes to the app, to the website. So let's come back here. We will use inspect in a moment because I want to show you, most of you are not familiar with this, how I would say all the functions that are performed by the JavaScript can be monitored through the inspection tool of Chrome. That's pretty interesting for debugging, to make sure that everything is working and to understand the logic behind the scenes of a simple web app like this one. But first, let me show you the structure of the app. So If you have watched some of my previous videos, you have seen that I'm using both Visual Studio and PyCharm. I started coding originally in Python using PyCharm, but I'm now also using Visual Studio because there is a full integration of GitHub Copilot, so the AI assistant. Inside of Visual Studio, you have a chat for GitHub Copilot directly inside of Visual Studio, which you don't have yet in PyCharm. So maybe if you watch this video in the future, later in 2024, it will be the case. But now in January 2024, it's only fully integrated in Visual Studio. So let's open Visual Studio. It's free to download if you want to use this code editor. It's one of the most popular, if not the most popular, I would say, at the moment. How is all of this structured there? We have first a folder, and that's very important, with all the stuff for the bookmarking extension. So in this folder, you will have a few files. Manifest.json, it's all the settings for the Chrome extension. I didn't know that before I started this conversation with ChatGPT. I learned along the way. I just wanted a Chrome extension. I didn't know that the Chrome extension had to feature a manifest.json, HTML, JavaScript, and potentially some CSS. I just asked for a Chrome extension to bookmark websites and to record them into a database. I asked specifically for a SQLite database because I knew it was a very simple way to create this web app, and it's Python friendly. So I asked specifically for this type of database, but I didn't know anything about the structure of the bookmarking extension. But this is the way it's created. So with a manifest.json, it's all the settings of the extensions. Then we have the popup.html. It's basically the little window that you see if you click on the icon. Popup.js, it ended up featuring all the logic, I mean the simple logic of this extension. So basically it bookmarks the websites and adds them to the database. And we have some styling to make this look pretty when you click on the little icon. And the important part, as far as the Chrome extension is concerned, is that you have to add this folder, the folders itself, not zipped, unzipped. You have to add the folder to Chrome via this page. So if you type in Chrome, colon / extensions, you will end up on this page. You have to make sure that here at the top right of the page you activate the developer mode, because this won't be a public extension by default. It will just sit on your computer, so it has to be in developer mode. And then you click here on load unpacked and you select the folder containing all the elements of your extension. It will just take a few seconds, theoretically, it's not a big extension, and then it will appear here. If there's no error, if there's nothing red here, it's fine. You can then go to this little icon in Chrome, and you just make sure it's pinned here so that you can see this extension all the time in your browser. And if you modify anything in your code, you have to reload here the code so that it's updated and you get the new code inside of your Chrome browser. So don't forget to click here on this loop reload icon if you update, or when you update, because you will have to do it, your Chrome extension. Then let's come back to Visual Studio. Here we have the main.py file, and that's a very important file, if not the most important file in this whole thing. It is the file with all the business logic, the server-side logic of this little web app. When you start, usually the first thing that you have is the route for the index page, which renders the template of the index page. You can start with a very basic page with just, you know, some placeholder text, and then you start and then you start populating your page with all you know, all the details about this page. And this page sits technically, the HTML, in the templates folder. So if you go to the templates folder, that's where you see the index.html. And we will review the content of the index.html in a moment. The root of your app is rendering, as you can see here, the template index.html. And as you can see here in the parentheses, it's passing the bookmarks. So it's sending the bookmarks to the page, so that the bookmarks that are in the table, in the bookmark table here, can be rendered inside of your HTML. That's a very basic concept. You have plenty of other routes in your main.py file. You have obviously one of the most important ones too, which is the route, the endpoint to bookmark what's coming from the extension. So the extension is calling this /bookmark route, and then it's recording the bookmark inside the table of the SQLite database, and it's confirming back to the extension then that the job was done, that the bookmark was added to the database. So that's the bookmark route. If we go in the JavaScript file of the extension, where you have all the interactions of the extension, popup.js, you will see here it performs a fetch request to the Flask server. So this comment was also generated by ChatGPT. And it will call this URL, which is the local URL for my page, with the bookmark endpoint, and it will post the content of the bookmarking extension, which is basically here the URL, to the endpoint. And then, depending on, you know, the outcome, it will display a page bookmark successfully. That's what you expect, or an error, failed to bookmark the page, or if there is an issue connecting to the backend, it will just tell you that there was an issue with networking with this backend. So you've got different error handling possibilities, options here. All of that, again, remember that all the lines of this code were fully written by ChatGPT. I didn't write a single line of this code. We have also a series of routes to handle all the tagging logic. So we can add a tag, we can remove a tag, we can filter the bookmarks if we perform a search. Remember when I search by AI for the tags, it can filter the bookmarks. It can also delete a bookmark. So if you press on the trash icon, you get a pop-up telling you, do you really want to delete this bookmark? And then you can confirm, and then it will call delete bookmark here and delete it from the database. And there's also some error handling here if, for instance, the bookmark was not found, or any other issue. And that's just the way every Flask web app ends by default. So if name equals main, and then it runs the app. And here, if the tables in the database were not created when we first started this app, it creates the tables based on what? Based on what we call the schema here. We have the schema for the two tables. We have a bookmark table, we have a tag table. In the bookmark table, we have the ID, which is just the unique ID of each bookmark. We have the URL of the website. That's important. We have the tags, but we don't see the tags. It's just a relationship between the bookmark and the tag table here. We also have the date, which is the date when the bookmark was added to the table. And for the tag table, we have the ID also. We have the text, which is basically the label, the string of text for the tag. And we have the bookmark ID because, as I told you, one tag can be attached, can be assigned to multiple bookmarks. So we have here the bookmark ID. And there is a way to browse your SQLite database locally on your computer with a free software that you can download on SQLitebrowser.org. It's called DB Browser for SQLite. It works for both Mac and Windows. You just download it for free. When you open it, you can access any of those SQLite databases on your computer. You can access one of the tables, like the bookmark table here or the tag table here, as you can see. And to show you the logic for the tags, so we have the tag AI twice in this table. Why? 2 rows, because it's assigned to the bookmark number 3 and the bookmark number 5. So if we come back here, we can see that bookmark number 3 is there's an AI for that.com, and bookmark number 5 openai.com. And if I come back to my web app here and I reload it, let's imagine that I remove my openai.com bookmark. So as you can see, very nice pop-up with all the animation. So yes, delete it. And if I come back to my browser here, you can see, if I reload this, that there's no OpenAI anymore. And if I come to my tags, we have one line less for the AI tag because we don't have any association with the OpenAI bookmark, which vanished, was removed from the database. That's also important to understand that by default, if you don't fix some stuff in the code, and if you want to remove something, one of those bookmarks with existing tags, you might have an error because first you have to unassign the tags, and then you can remove the bookmark from the table. Because you can't have I would say in a database orphan associations or orphan assignments between tags and bookmarks. You have first to kill those relationships, to remove them from the tag table, and then you can remove the bookmark. So let me show you how it's done in the code. And again, all of this code was created by ChatGPT. But at least I understand the concept. I understand why this thing is written that way, even if I can't write it myself. It's a bit as if I could read the notes on a music score, but I would not be able to write per se all the notes just listening to the music. If you understand what I mean. Let's have a look at the delete route. So when we call the delete bookmark route from JavaScript, so let's go to JavaScript and see where it's done. Okay, it's here in the confirm deletion function. So this is the function which is called when you click on the trash icon. So the first thing you get is this nice pop-up that we saw together, which asks you whether you want to actually delete this bookmark. And if the result is confirmed, then it calls the route here and it passes the bookmark ID, because obviously the backend has to know which bookmark you want to delete. And then it's coming back from the backend, and it's telling you that either the network response was not okay, if there was an issue connecting to the backend, or if it worked, it tells you delete it, your bookmark is being deleted, success, congratulations. Or there could be an error deleting your bookmark. So all this thing here, it's all the function to delete one of those bookmarks. We have reviewed most of the routes that we had here in the Flask file, in the Python file at the root of our project. I wanted to show you as a refresher, if you basically know what a Flask web app is, but you don't know exactly the structure of a Flask web app, I wanted to show you the basic structure, the basic architecture of a Flask web app. So that's how it's presented. So you have your project, that's your main folder. Inside of this, usually you have a main py file, Python file. It can be called app.py, or it can be called, like in this example, main.py. Doesn't really matter. Then you've got a templates folder, plural form. Inside, you've got the pages that you will use in your app. Here in this app, we just have one page, the main one, called index.html. Then we have a static folder. Usually in the static folder, you will have the CSS for the styling, the JS for the JavaScript, and sometimes, if you need them, you also have images. All of those things here in yellow, you won't find them all the time in the apps. It depends on where you deploy your app. Sometimes you have some requirements, like here it's a proc file is required for deploying your app to Railway, for instance. I'm using Railway, but sometimes it could be another set of files, depending on where you deploy your app. If you deploy your app, you can also keep it as we do for this example on your computer. But if you want to share it with the world, you've got to deploy it. And if you need to deploy it, sometimes you have to add a bunch of other files. And yeah, that's basically it for the structure. And for the logic, so you've got the front end with index.html, some styling with CSS, and all the interactions, the functions with JavaScript. If you are, I would say, at the cutting edge of front-end development today, you won't probably use vanilla JavaScript for most of the web apps that you will create. You will use React or Next.js, also or Vue or something like that, or Angular. But it's interesting to see that by default, when we're talking about interactions in the front end, ChatGPT will suggest to use pure JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript, which is a good school, a good way for you to understand the inner workings of how the code is working in the front end, interacting with the routes in the back end. Then you can evolve and move to React, move to Next, move to Vue. And obviously you can also use ChatGPT to help you in the transition between vanilla JavaScript, so basic JavaScript, and React or Vue. You could ask ChatGPT to refactor the code that you have created in vanilla JavaScript and transform it into some functional React or Vue code. That's possible. It will obviously require some tweaking, but that's totally feasible, and that's probably a very nice exercise also at some point to move from basic vanilla JavaScript to React or Vue or Next.js. And in the backend, so you've got Python. We love Python here, and it's Flask, which is a basic, simple, lightweight web framework for Python. You could also use Django if you want for the backend, but I tried Django and I tried Flask, and for me it was easier to understand and to quickly iterate using Flask. It gave me also more control on what I wanted to create. So I'm totally in love, I would say, with Flask. So I'm using Flask all the time for my backend. It's also, yeah, it's very well connected with Python by design, because it's a lightweight web framework for Python. And you can obviously have some other Python files if you want to isolate some of your logic outside of the main app.py or main.py file. You will have other Python files, and you will, connect those files to your main.py and interact with those files if you want to perform some specific business logic, like a file conversion, for instance, or image creation, or calling a file to send emails, and you will put all your email sending logic in a file called emails.py, for instance. So you don't have obviously to have all of your code in the main app.py or main.py file, but that's Python in the backend, and that's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the front end. So that's the basic anatomy of a Flask web app. That's what we have here also. So we have the static folder with style.css, tags.js. It was called tags.js because most of the code was related to the interactions around tags. There's just one section which is there to delete the bookmarks. I could have called it scripts.js or app.js or whatever. The important part is that you have to call the right file, obviously, from your HTML. So at the end of each HTML file, you will have the JavaScript script section. You can have multiple scripts. One of those is here, the tags.js script. And because it's in the static folder locally, this is the way you do it in Flask. That's the way you call something from the static folder. You have the same in the beginning of the file for the styles.css. As you can see, we also go to the static folder and we find the styles.css for the styling. But we also have, via a CDN connection on the web, Tailwind CSS there. We don't have Tailwind locally. And in the end, we also have this thing here, which is some JavaScript for the alert system, so the pop-up that you saw for the deletion of a bookmark. Like if I click here, you see this guy here, very nice one. It was all created thanks to this little line there, which is calling Sweet Alert via the CDN. In the tags.js, it was here for the content, so we pass this content to this pop-up. Are you sure you won't be able to revert this warning for the icon? And then, yes, delete it for the button. So if I come back here, you see, all of this content was configured via the JS file, connected to this very specific service that we call via script at the end of the HTML. That's the way it's working. It's pretty cool because you don't have to, code from scratch everything. You just call this and it creates this very nice pop-up. So I wanted to show you also that it's responsive. So if you go on mobile, you can see that we are losing the table format. So it's no more a table with multiple columns. We don't want this bookmarking data anymore on mobile. We just have a card format with the URL, the trash icon. You can add another tag here like sweepers, because we also have sweepers on this website. You can remove if you want one of those tags like this. So that's the same. And if we reload the page, we have everything the same. If we look at the HTML, you will see all the structure of the page. So that's a very basic HTML. So I showed you all the stuff that we have in the head section for the CSS and Tailwind. Then we have here the section for the for the search input. So search by tag. So remember, let's come back here. You see this section. That's what you have there. Search field. Then you have the T-head section. That's the titles at the top of the table. And then what we have here is a section which is dynamically fed by the database. So that's why we have this for bookmark in bookmarks and for here. So this section, the content, it will depend on what's in the database when the page is loaded. And you have all of the logic there. And again, all of this was generated, written by artificial intelligence. We have another div here, which we use when we switch to mobile. So this is SM hidden. This is hidden by default when the page loads. We show the desktop version right here. But if we are on mobile, we have the card version here, which is shown. And then is the end of the page. That's just the two connections to the JavaScript for the alert and the JavaScript for the tags logic. And so we have the tags logic, which is, I would say, the most complex part of the code. Let's review this. We have some JavaScript to handle the tag input. So that's basically when you press a comma after some text, it will add the tag to the database, and it will also add the tag to the page so that you can see the tag, and you can, if you want, remove the tag. Then we have here a function. Let's put some space to remove the tag. So if we want to remove a tag from a bookmark, so to unassign a tag from a bookmark. Then we have here a function to fetch and display the bookmarks, which we call when we perform a search. So if we search by a tag, we will call this function here. A function to create a table row, and another function here to create a card. Those two functions are called either on desktop or on mobile to display the table on desktop or the card view on mobile. And then we have here a function which we use to create the, I would say, the most sophisticated part of the table, which is the tag section. So if we go to the table and we see here the tag column, so there's a lot happening in the tag column. In the tag column, you have the tags that come from the database, but you also have the possibility to add a tag, you have the possibility to remove a tag. So each time you create a tag, you need to add this little X icon there, so that the user understands that if they click on X, they will remove this tag like this, okay? But if you add a tag, so if I put, for instance, radio here and I add a tag, the system also understands that it has to add the tag to the page and to add the little X to make it available for deletion. That's the most, I would say, sophisticated part of this table or even of the card view. So that's the reason why in the code it has a specific function, and this function is called both in the card view and in the table view to create this part of the table. So that's basically it. And you could say, wow, Fred, this is overwhelming. I don't understand anything to this. And yes, I would understand your anxiety looking at this code, but actually you don't have to be anxious. You just have to understand and have a clear view about what you're expecting from the AI, from your AI assistant. And then your AI assistant will give you this code, and gradually you will start to understand what this code is doing. And if there is a bug, you will have some intuition about where the bug is coming from. And you can always ask ChatGPT based on the errors that you will see in your app to help you debug the app, debug the code, and review its own code. That's obviously part of the conversation. The conversation won't be a straight line from I'm going to give you a prompt for a web app, and you're going to give me a ready-made code that I can just paste into my code editor, and it will be a miracle. It will work at the first time. It's not there yet, so it's an iterative process. So you've got to really engage in a conversation with your AI assistant, as if you were, working with a colleague at the office in your team, to reach a conclusion which is successful, something that works perfectly fine. So there will be a lot of debugging, QA in this process. But the more you will practice, the more you will do this thing, the more you will understand how you have to interact with ChatGPT. Let me just show you the beginning, the starting point. So the starting point yesterday in the morning was just give me the full code to create a simple Chrome extension to bookmark website, and I told the AI into a SQLite table in a database called bookmarker.db. So I just gave that instruction because I knew that I wanted a SQLite database. It was Python friendly, it was easy for me to understand, and it was, I knew, easy for ChatGPT also to generate code for that. So then it gave me some code for the extension, the basic manifest.json I had never heard of, then the pop-up HTML, the pop-up JS, the basic code for the Flask web app. But as you can see here, it missed the creation of the table. So the first time I ran this, there was no table created. There was the schema for the table there, but there was no table created. So in the end, after some discussion, it added the crucial part here: create all tables. So to create those two tables. And then we started the discussion, and there was some back and forth in the beginning about, do we need a background.js file in the Chrome extension for all the functional logic, or can we have all of this logic, it's not that much anyway, to bookmark the website straight into the popup.js. So we ended up deciding together to put everything in popup.js. So that's why you don't have background.js and popup.js in this folder, just have popup.js. Everything is handled there. So opening the popup, bookmarking the URL. What were the bottlenecks? In this app? I ran into some issues because of the, I would say, tag processing logic. When you open the app, by default, you basically call the HTML that you saw, the basic HTML, and it renders the table here based on the content of the database. And then you can add a tag, remove a tag, etc. But when you filter this, when you filter the table, okay, like if you type AI here, this is another view. This view is generated dynamically by the JavaScript, and it is built on the fly, this view, by the JavaScript. And so you need to have all of the logic to handle the tags shipped into this dynamic construction by the JavaScript. So we had to do some back and forth with my friend ChatGPT to reach a working conclusion so that it works perfectly fine in both the default view when you load the page and the filtered view after a search or after something has been removed or added and the page reloads. So for instance, when I add a new tag here, like I say directory, for instance, and I add directory, it has reloaded the view. But this has to work. So if I want to remove directory, the function is to be performed. And in the beginning, in the dynamic view, it was just showing the result, but lost all the functions to delete, remove the tags, etc. So we had, to engage in discussion about that. Took me probably 30 minutes to make it work in both cases. The default view and the filtered view. And also at some point I wanted to go the extra mile, and I wanted to have a mobile view with a card format and not a table format, because as you know, when you're on mobile you don't want to have cramped columns with all the content. You want to have a card format. And also there we needed to have everything working for both the card format and the table format. And yes, I also wanted to introduce some differences, like I didn't want to show, but that was easy, the date on mobile, whereas I wanted to show the date on desktop. But there was also some back and forth there when I finalized this card view versus desktop view, table view. And the last bit, which was a bit more difficult in the building of this app, was when I wanted to delete a bookmark. And I think I told you that before. I needed to make sure that first the tags potentially attached to a bookmark were unassigned, so that the connection, the binding between the tags and the bookmark was released before I was able to actually delete the bookmark. So that's why in the code, in the Flask route, which is used for the bookmark deletion, it first removes the associated tags, and then it deletes the bookmark. If you remove this thing here, okay, let's try to remove this one. as you can see, there was an error deleting the bookmark because we still had the assignment between the tags and the bookmark. So if I type this back, then let's reload this and try again. Now if I want to delete this, oops, it was deleted. I will add it back here. So you can see that it's working. Bookmark this page bookmarked successfully. And if I come back here, I have it here. I had promised to show you how you can use the inspect tool of Chrome to follow what's going on behind the scenes when you add tags, when you remove tags, when you delete one of the bookmarks. So let's have a look at that. You have to open first the inspect tool. So you right click in Chrome, click on inspect, and it will open this window. So there you have the JavaScript console here. So if you have any errors or any info message, it will appear here. And you also have some other tabs. The important one for me being network. So in this network tab, you will see all the queries that are performed when you load the page, when you click on a button, anything that's functional in the app. So if I reload my page, you see that it loads the JS for the alert pop-up. It loads tags.js, and obviously it also loads the document, the HTML document of the page. You can always clear the log. That's better if you want to have a clear view about a specific moment in the interaction. So let's clear the network log. So for instance, if I click on this little X to remove the radio tag, you will see something in the network tab. You can see here that it called this URL remove underscore tag with the bookmark ID number 4 for our bookmark number 4 in the database. And it removed the tag with the text radio from this bookmark. Now if I clear the log and if I want to add it again, so let's do this and let's radio properly spelled, and let's put a comma, and as soon as I put a comma, boom, as you can see, it added the tag, the bookmark with ID 4 with the text radio. And so if I go to my database, I will see here that I have with the for the bookmark ID number 4, I have now the tag radio. So that's basically what you can see from this network tab. It's very useful because sometimes you will see some undefined parameter, for instance, being passed to the server, and you will then understand that something wrong is going on. So if I click here, I can see my payload. So that's what's being sent to the server. So the text of the tag, radio, and the ID of the bookmark 4. So that's perfectly fine. And I see my response coming back from the server telling me that the tag with ID 9 has been added to my bookmark. That's it basically for, I would say, the high-level approach of this app. I will also leave the full code accessible publicly on GitHub, so you can clone the code of this little bookmarking app and play with it on your own. You will understand all of the structure just by browsing the code. Maybe you can watch this video again and browse the code while I'm explaining all the details. And if you have any question about this process, don't hesitate to ask your questions in the comments below. I will do my best to answer your questions in due time. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button if you want to be notified when I will add new apps, new tutorials to this channel. And I invite you to watch the other videos of the series that were published a few days ago, including a video of 55 minutes which shows you all the basic Pythonic principles as described both by ChatGPT and by myself. If you also have any requests for an app concept that you would like to approach using AI-assisted coding, don't hesitate to add it to the comments below. It could be the topic of one of my next videos. Thank you very much for your attention. I will see you in the next video of this series.